What is that hump in your back? How do you get rid of it, avoid it, and not end up hunched over like your parents or maybe your grandparents? Well, that's what we're going to dive into today on Back Talk. So, this is Back Talk. Welcome. I'm Dr. Ryan Wolfert, and on each episode, I address the most common questions and misconceptions about back pain and spinal health, show you how you can strengthen your spine so you can be your own guarantee for your health and for your life. And so today I want to dive into, and we're going to talk about this dreaded hunchback posture. So, what is it? Well, the technical term is called thoracic hyperkyphosis. And it's when the upper back here, it becomes overly curved, excessively curved past what the normal range is, creating a hunchback type appearance. And I know we all want to avoid that. We it doesn't look great, but it's more than just a cosmetic concern. It can affect your quality and quantity of life. When the spine curves too much, it causes way too much stress on the bones, on the ligaments, on the discs, causing it to break down. And that can lead to pain, stiffness, and other more serious health problems, which we'll talk about in a second. So, how do you get this? How does this develop in your spine? Well, the most common area that we see this as far as ages is as you get older. Like 20% of older adults, especially women, have this forward posture, have this hunchback, this hump type posture. It's called the dowager's hump, right in the upper part of your upper back. So, but it's not just for women. It's not just in the elderly or older people. People are developing this earlier and earlier in age. Think about the things that you're doing and that people are doing nowadays. They're prolongingly in these increasingly hunched over postures on their phone, on the computer, sitting down too much, maybe reading on their iPads or their laptop, even sleeping propped up on pillows. Just in general, our world is designed for us to, honestly, I don't want to say collapse, but that's the position that it puts us in. And just even without all those physical stressors, gravity by itself is causing us to collapse. And if you're already going in that position from being in these poor postures, these forward flexed postures for too long, then gravity is just going to have that much more hold on you, pulling you down more and more. So those are the major reasons for that. And also there can be medical conditions that you have that predispose you to this hunchback posture, which a big one being osteoporosis, a weakening of the bones. Now, I talked about how this excessive curve, just intuitively, you can see how it can put too much stress on the muscles, the ligaments, the bones, the discs, causing them to break down, causing more pain and stiffness. But even beyond the pain and stiffness part of it, it will decrease and can decrease your physical function and capabilities. You know, part of being your own guarantee is being independent, being mobile, being active, being healthy. And this hunchback posture makes these activities more difficult. If you have this, you more than likely already know that, you know, your mobility is less. It's harder to walk. It's harder to, even this next one, it can restrict your breathing. And this leads into how both on your cardiovascular system, your heart, and also your pulmonary system, the lungs, it can put too much stress on those, restricting the breathing, restricting the heart function. And this has been shown in multiple studies how to decrease your lifespan. So this forward flexed hyperkyphosis posture is directly related to and correlated to a decrease in your lifespan because of the effect it has on your oxygenation, it has on your cardiovascular system, your heart, and your lung function. And then even physically we talk about, right? And then even the organ systems in our body. Well, mentally, psychologically, this has an effect on you. When you have this forward flexed bent posture, this hunchback, it actually decreases your self-esteem, decreases your confidence level. And sometimes it happens without even knowing it, or that could be a reason for it. So physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even chemically, it affects how our body functions. And research has shown, and there's this study in the Journal of Clinical Medicine, and I've mentioned this on a previous video, of how it showed that when people have a increased kyphosis in the upper back, that thoracic kyphosis, hyperkyphosis, it increases the chance of neck pain, increases the chance of disability. It makes your muscle coordination more dysfunctional, and also affects and weakens your nervous system response. So basically how you respond to the world around you. So that's, again, it's not just about pain, it's about how your body is actually functioning because of what it's doing to your nervous system. So now the big question is, okay, you might have it or you want to avoid it. How do we correct it or prevent it? Now, you want to notice it as early as possible, just like with anything. So if you notice that your mobility is decreasing, if you notice that your height is decreasing, that's another big sign. If you notice your head is forward, your shoulders are collapsing. If you notice, you look side to side and you don't have the range of motion, you got to turn your whole body because you can't even turn your head and neck by itself. Those are all early signs that you're developing this hunchback, that hump. And obviously, visibly, is there a hump back there? And you don't, I see on YouTube, I see these videos, and there's general recommendations for it. Now, I'm always a big fan of finding out for you what it actually is, or how to correct and prevent it even from the start. And so that's why I'm always a big fan of standing spinal x-rays, to actually look under the hood to see what your spine looks like. But in general, I'll give you some general exercises, and I'll actually link to a video as well called the thoracic mobility exercise to counteract the hunchback. But specific postural exercises can help, can strengthen the muscles between the shoulder blades, can stretch the chest here to help bring the shoulders back. But we always want to be conscious of, okay, what is that doing to the spine? That's why standing spinal x-rays are so important, or so invaluable. And I'll quickly just show you this one here. But again, I'll provide the link in the description so you can go to the thoracic mobility exercise video. But essentially, you're just going to clasp your hands, head, so that your hands go behind your head and neck like this. You're going to take your elbows back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, keep your head back into your hands, and lift the chest up and forward. Okay, so it's just this type of extension type maneuver. I go over more in the video. If you have osteoporosis, osteopenia, fractures, you want to do this very gently, as well as all these postural exercises. You always want to modify it to suit your levels. It's always got to be a pain-free exercise. But mobility is great because it encompasses both flexibility and the strength, your control through it. So there's a little bit of difference between just straight flexibility versus we want the mobility. We want you to be able to move through the range of motion, not just hold a certain position. Now, another important aspect, especially in this hunchback posture, in spinal position, if the spine is stuck, that's what I call it. If it gets stuck in that position, yes, we can work the muscles. But what also happens is the ligaments that hold the bones together of the spine, they get deformed. They get sclerotic and fibrotic and broken down and all, tight, instead of nice and mobile, elastic, and strong, both elasticity and strength. Now they get all muddled up like this. And then it's hard to, just using exercises or using stretches or strengthening and postural exercises to strengthen the muscle, we have to address the ligaments. So what's important with that is called traction. And this is part of my method, the Eaton method, EATN, which is exercise, adjusting your lifestyle, traction, and nutrition. So this is the T part of it, the traction. And a specialized device is this right here. It's called a thoracic Denerol, and this goes in the mid-back. You see that's been used because I've been using it. So this can only be used under the supervision of a qualified professional, specifically, and the best out there are chiropractic biophysics trained physicians, CBP for short. Try to find, I'll provide a link in the description for you to go to the directory, but I myself am trained in this, so you can always reach out to me as well. But this helps to counteract the ligaments getting tight in the upper back, in the mid back, that is keeping you stuck in that position no matter how much exercise or no matter how much postural awareness that you have. Another more at-home solution could be a folded up towel. Again, you can control the thickness of this, and this would go in your mid back and you would lay on that. So these are lying type procedures that you would use because we want to relax the muscles as much as possible so we can get down to the ligamentous level. And for example, with the towel, the towel traction, the folded towel traction, you would start gradually at a few minutes, and then you would work up to 20 to maybe even 30 minutes. But again, I would rather have you find out if you actually need something like that, and where to place it would be much more beneficial. So definitely check that link below. Try to find somebody in your area that's qualified to show you how to do this, and make sure you're doing it correctly. Don't ignore these early signs of the hunchback. A lot of times the first sign that you notice is the actual bump, right? And it's not too late, but notice these other signs, the loss of mobility. And even another sign is, are you on your phone? Are you hunched over a lot? Are you slumped down on a chair? Are you slumped down, on a couch too much? Are you sitting too much? Make sure you're getting up and moving around every 20 to 30 minutes if you are in these forward flexed postures. I have a spinal hygiene mini class that you're welcome to download. If you want it, just type in spine in the comments and I'll make sure that I get that to you. It might also be in the comments, or not the comments, but the description below. Remember, specific exercises, lifestyle adjustments, traction, these help to help to prevent, reverse these early signs of hyperkyphosis, because it's all about being your own guarantee for your spinal health, for your life. And you want to make sure you're doing that to its fullest. And again, you want to be your own guarantee for your spine, your health, and your life. So if you want the spinal hygiene minute class, just type in spine and I'll make sure that you get that. What do you do about osteoporosis in your spine? Can you fix it? How do you manage it? Is that even why maybe you're getting shorter? So let's address these common questions about spinal osteoporosis, back pain, and spinal health, so you can strengthen your spine and be your own guarantee for your health and your life. So let's dive into osteoporosis in the spine right now. And just in general, osteoporosis is where the bones become weak and brittle, and in the spine. All right. It can be in the hips and the, thighs, the hands, everywhere in your body it can happen. But specifically, we're talking about the spine. And think about a tall skyscraper losing its structural integrity. And that's what happens and can happen with osteoporosis in the spine. The spine weakens, the bones weaken, leading to more fragility and potential fractures. And one big sign of this, which I hear quite often in practice and even online, is you get shorter. All right. So if you notice yourself getting shorter, that's because the vertebrae weaken, it compress and can make you shorter. But also, what can also happen is, we'll get to how it can even create that hunchback. All right. Lead to that and a weakening there, and vice versa. The hunchback can also predispose you to problems and fractures associated with osteoporosis. So, can osteoporosis actually be fixed? It might not be able to completely reverse, but it can be improved. And if we keep doing the things that caused the osteoporosis and the breakdown in the first place, lifestyle things, our nutrition, our sedentary habits and poor postural habits, not getting enough exercise, not getting enough sunlight, eating too much crap food, guess what? These are going to cause the bones to break down. And on top of that, if you're taking medication that can break down the bones too, either directly or indirectly. So you might not be able to completely reverse it, but you can absolutely improve it. Just like you can renovate the skyscraper, renovate your house. It's the structure is still okay, or like the outside of it, but you just have to move some things around on the inside and make sure that it's all good on the inside. You can reinforce the structure of it. So one big way to do this is through exercise. Now, oftentimes people use swimming. They do swimming, which is a great cardiovascular exercise, or water aerobics. That's great. But what we want to help stimulate the bones to actually strengthen, the spine to actually strengthen, is more weight-bearing activities. Now, as you get started, yes, the pool is great, but you want to graduate and progress to more weight-bearing activities, because that causes more bone formation, making the bones stronger. So safer, gentle exercises. Obviously, you can always modify these to fit your level. But safe exercise like brisk walking, elliptical machines, it's still, taking the stress off of the spine, off of the joints. Body weight exercise, maybe some squats, maybe if you can handle it, different push-ups. And there's different modifications you can do with push-ups. You can have your knees down. You can have your hands elevated, even against a wall. Just something to stimulate the bones to get stronger there. Other ones where weight-bearing, yoga, tai chi, or yoga and tai chi are also good ones to help strengthen the bones, that are safe to also improve your balance and reduce the risk of falls. So think weight-bearing when you're doing these types of activities, or thinking about exercise, because that helps to stimulate the bone formation. Now, I mentioned this already in the opening about posture. So your posture, remember, posture is a window to your spine and your nervous system. So anywhere that your posture is distorted, especially this forward flex posture, means that there's weakness or injuries that can predispose you to other problems. And if your posture is weak, if your spine is weakened, it can weaken and cause more of these spinal problems, especially if the bones are already weak. So there was research showing that slouching, or this forward, by this forward flexed posture, head and upper body leaning forward, it puts extra pressure on the spine, causing the hyperkyphosis and the height loss, that hunchback that we talked about. The hyperkyphosis, there's your height loss there. In addition to that, though, this hunchback posture causes a higher risk of fractures, because it's putting excess pressure on the front of the bone, causing them to wedge, and it's not able to withstand that if the bones are already weak. Now, we don't want a hunchback even if we don't have osteoporosis, but we definitely don't want that if you have osteoporosis, or a bone, your bones are breaking down, even osteopenia. So maintaining a good posture, engaging in gentle exercises, the weight-bearing exercises, using, even possibly, I'm not a huge fan of them, but it depends if you need one, specific braces. There's newer ones now. Now, typically I would want specifically for your spine. So how we identify that is, okay, from your standing spinal x-rays, how can we make a brace that would prevent the bones from breaking down? Now, we want to make sure we still work the muscles, though. We don't want to just be in a brace all the time, because then the muscles are going to get weak. So I'm going to also link to these 5 simple exercises that you can do for a strong and mobile spine. Definitely modify them if you have fractures, if you have osteoporosis. If you're watching this, more than likely you do. You want to modify those. And you want to make sure that you're doing them only in a gentle, pain-free. You never want to force any of these exercises. So I'll link to that in the description. Okay. Now, another big one of the Eaton method. So remember the Eaton method, EATN. This is the method that I use to help structurally correct the spine. So exercises, adjusting your lifestyle. Again, that's the postural and daily things that we do. How are we doing them in a healthier posture? Traction, that's the T, which we'll get to, and N, which I want to cover a lot right here, and go through a list of things that you can do nutritionally to help build the bones back up. So we want to prioritize essential nutrients, especially foods that are rich in essential nutrients for the bone: calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, vitamin K, and protein. So as I go down this list, take note. All right. And if you want my actual strong spine BYOG food list, just type in list and I'll make sure I get that to you. It's broken down into 5 different levels from anywhere from the BYOG, be your own guarantee foods that you want to stick to, all the way down to avoid these like the plague. So number one of them is raw cultured dairy. So the raw cultured dairy, you want it raw cultured. We want to avoid the processed, ultra processed dairy and cheese and milk. We want to have calcium rich foods in our diet: broccoli, okra, watercress, almonds, and sardines are all great sources. Manganese rich foods: beans, legumes, macadamia nuts, hazelnuts. Omega-3 rich foods, especially from wild caught fish. Some great ones are sardines. Again, I love sardines, salmon, anchovies, mackerel, halibut. Green leafy vegetables, especially arugula. A lot of times we stick to spinach and kale and we put that in the smoothies, that is good in smoothies. I wouldn't recommend arugula in smoothies. That doesn't give a great taste to it. But in your salads, arugula is amazing. Alkaline rich foods: green vegetables, fresh herbs, spices, tomatoes, avocados, cucumbers. Nutrient rich protein sources: grass-fed meat, wild caught fish, especially, again, sardines. That's the 3rd time I've mentioned those. Pasture raised eggs. Now, what do you want to avoid? You want to avoid foods that contribute to bone loss. That makes sense, right? So excessive alcohol. We want to avoid sweetened beverages, sodas. And, I'm in Michigan, so I say pop. I want to avoid soda pop or a lot of carbonated beverages that have sweeteners in them. You want to avoid added sugar to your diet because that will increase the inflammation. If you look on a label of something, you want to look to see, is there added sugar there? And you want to avoid that. Processed meats, processed red meat especially, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished. Beef is amazing, is great, but processed red meat, conventional meat, has hormones in it, has other chemicals in there that they give there to make it grow faster, to grow more, but they can weaken you. And you want to avoid excessive caffeine. You want to avoid smoking because all these things weaken the bone. All right, so that's nutritionally just a list there. But again, type in list and I will get you that the strong spine food list. Sunlight is big. So aiming for 20 minutes a day in the sunlight. If it's at a time where there's not a whole lot of sunlights, then supplements definitely help. Or if you need that little extra boost, supplements for bone support, for spinal support are a lot of times needed. You want to make sure that you're taking the right amount in the right one in the right amount. You want to avoid ones that you're just the mass produced ones. In general, the better supplements that have your good magnesium, vitamin K2, strontium, calcium in there. It's not just about calcium. It's about how to get that calcium absorbed in there. So it needs to have these other types of supplements in there, or the vitamins in there. And you might want to avoid, I don't want to say might, avoid as much as you can the cheap vitamins that you see on the shelf at your big box stores. More than likely, they don't have in there what it says that they do. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but that's kind of how it works, is the higher quality vitamins are probably going to cost you a little bit more, but they're actually going to have the vitamins and the minerals in there that your body needs. So I always suggest talking to a healthcare professional, a functional medicine doctor. They're better equipped, a health coach, they're better equipped to answer questions about the vitamins and minerals as far as that goes. Now, remember the EAT method, the T part of it, the traction, the structural correction. Now, spinal health care, the structural correction, that's hugely important to help improve your posture and reduce the pressure on the bones and on the joints. If you have fractures in your spine, we can still help the spinal structure even with those. If the bones are already wedged, yes, you won't be able to get full correction, but you can improve it. We can always improve your health. You can always improve your function. And as you improve your spinal health, your spinal structure and function, then the rest of your body gets better too. The pain decreases, your energy gets better, your metabolism gets better, you're able to move around better. So that's why I always recommend chiropractic biophysics physicians, CBP. So we're trained, I'm included in that. We're trained on how to address specific issues in your spine. So then we can come up with a personalized plan to help reverse the effects of that. Now, on top of that, if we're talking just strictly osteoporosis, I'll also link to this interview that I did with the bone coach, Kevin Ellis. It's a great resource to help you understand osteoporosis of your entire body, but especially your spine, and the steps that you can take to reverse it as much as possible, get off, hopefully, any medications that you're taking, because a lot of these medications, they don't help to rebuild the bone. They help just to hopefully stabilize it, but then they cause other problems in your body and in your health. So we want a holistic BYOG, be your own guarantee approach, using safe exercises, proper nutrition, some targeted supplements, good posture and spinal hygiene. This is a long-term project. Whether you think it is or not, maybe you're 50 years old, maybe you're 55, 60, maybe you're 70. You still got a lot of years left. And these types of things help you not just increase the quality of your life, but increase the quantity of your life. So you want to make sure we stand tall, fuel your body, fuel your body, but yeah, fuel your body with the right nutrients and with the right approach. Again, you can be your own guarantee for your spine, your health, your life, and definitely check out those resources that I mentioned. I will type in list if you want that food list, and I'll make sure I get that to you.